My name is Victor, and I am standing in Egypt. Not the Egypt of postcards, but the Egypt of the ancients. A land where the desert meets the river, and history rises from the sand. Here along the Nile, the first kingdoms were born. Before pyramids touched the sky, before pharaohs ruled as gods, Egypt was already becoming eternal. Every stone here carries a story. Every temple shadow whispers of forgotten dynasties. This is the land of builders and priests, of golden tombs and sacred rivers, of empires that shaped the ancient world. Over the next thousands of years, Egypt will rise, collapse, and rise again. We will witness the first pyramids, the glory of the Old Kingdom, the wars of pharaohs, and the mysteries that still haunt the sands today. This is not just history. This is Egypt. Egypt was not born as an empire. It began as a river. Around 5000 BCE, small communities gathered along the Nile's fertile banks, surrounded by endless desert. The Nile was life itself. Each year, its floods renewed the soil, turning sand into farmland and villages into growing kingdoms. In this age, Egypt was not yet one nation. It was divided into rival regions, scattered settlements, and tribal rulers. Upper Egypt in the south, Lower Egypt in the north. Two lands, two crowns, two identities. Over centuries, these early Egyptians developed the foundations of civilization. They built mud brick homes, crafted pottery and tools. They traded across the river and desert routes. And slowly, something revolutionary emerged. Writing. The earliest hieroglyphs appeared as symbols of power, record. Gods also took shape in this era. Spirits of the river, falcons of the sky, sacred animals and divine forces that would guide Egypt for millennia. Then, around 3100 BCE, history changed forever. A ruler known as Nama, often remembered as Menes, united Upper and Lower Egypt. The double crown was born. Egypt became one kingdom. The first dynasties began. Memphis rose as a royal capital near the meeting point of the two lands. Pharaoh was no longer just a king. He became the living bridge between gods and humanity. Royal tombs were built at Abydos. People of Egypt were motivated for building monuments. Priests shaped rituals of eternity. Officials organized the first true state. This was Egypt's dawn. No pyramids yet. No Golden Age monuments. But the blueprint was complete. The Nile had given birth to a civilization that would outlast empires. And soon, Egypt would build for eternity. Egypt had become one kingdom. But during the Old Kingdom, around 2686 BCE, it became something greater. This was the age of the pyramids. Pharaoh was no longer just a ruler, he was divine, the living embodiment of order on earth. And to honor that belief, Egypt began to build for eternity. The first great leap came under King Djoser. Around 2630 BCE, his architect Imhotep designed the step pyramid at Saqqara. It rose not as a smooth triangle, but as stacked stone platforms reaching toward the heavens. Stone replaced mud brick, monuments replaced tomb mounds, and then came Giza. Around 2560 BCE, Pharaoh Khufu ordered the construction of the Great Pyramid. Over 2 million limestone blocks were cut, transported, and precisely aligned. But how were they built? Contrary to myth, not by slaves. Evidence shows skilled laborers organized into rotating crews working seasonally when the Nile flooded their farms. Stone blocks were quarried locally and across the Nile, dragged on wooden sledges over lubricated sand. Ramps, straight or spiral, may have lifted them higher and higher. Engineers measured with astonishing precision. The pyramid aligns almost perfectly with true north. The Great Sphinx watched silently, carved from living rock. These were not simply tombs. They were resurrection machines. The pyramids were not built in mystery. They were built with planning, with mathematics, with human hands. Around 2560 BCE, when Khufu's Great Pyramid rose over Giza, Egypt had already mastered organization on a scale never seen before. The first step was quarrying.
Align the stones precisely for pharaohs.
Limestone blocks were cut from nearby quarries using copper chisels and stone hammers. Harder granite for internal chambers was transported from Aswan, nearly 800 kilometers away. The Nile made this possible. During annual floods, barges carried heavy blocks directly to the Giza Plateau. Temporary canals may have brought the stone closer to the site itself. But moving stone across desert required ingenuity. Workers placed the blocks on wooden sledges. Water was poured on the sand to reduce friction. Teams pulled in synchronized rhythm. These were not slaves. Archaeological evidence reveals organized labor crews, skilled workers housed, fed, and respected for their role in building eternity. Each block weighed several tons, and each had to fit with astonishing precision. Engineers aligned the pyramid almost perfectly with true north, likely using observations of the stars. The margin of error is nearly zero. Inside, the design was just as complex. Ascending corridors, relieving chambers, hidden passages. The king's chamber was built from massive granite blocks, carefully positioned to distribute weight above. This was not just a tomb, it was a cosmic machine. The pyramid symbolized the primordial mound of creation,